Before there was sun or moon, before the first star burned, before light itself existed, something was already there. It moved in the endless darkness, the very first of all creation. No human eye has seen it. No mind can fully grasp it. But without it, nothing else would have ever existed. What was this mysterious being? Was it alive or something far stranger? And why did the Creator make this first, before shaping the heavens, the earth, or even light itself? We are about to witness the moment when existence itself began. But I'll warn you, what you're about to hear will change how you see the universe and your own life forever. For more stories like this video, and subscribe to our channel. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I find it incredible that we learn about Bible unseen truths together from all around the world. When time didn't exist, imagine a moment where there is no moment. No ticking of clocks, no sunrises or sunsets, no past, no future. Just an infinite stillness that stretches beyond thought. If you try to imagine it, your mind will rebel. Because everything we know, every memory, every heartbeat, exists inside time. But here, in this place before places, there was only the Creator, perfect, eternal, needing nothing, yet about to will everything into being. And then, something happened, something so monumental that even the greatest human languages strain to describe it. Creation began. But here's the first shock. The first thing created was not the heavens, not the earth, not even light. The first creation was something unexpected. Some ancient traditions speak of it with awe. They call it the pen. But this was no ordinary pen, like the kind that scratches ink onto parchment. It was a being, or an object, unlike anything in the universe. It did not need hands to hold it. It did not need paper to write on. And yet, the moment it came into existence, it was given a command. Write. And it began to write. Not in a language of ink and letters, but in the language of reality itself. It recorded, in ways we cannot imagine, every single event that would ever occur. From the formation of the first galaxy, to the death of the last star. From the first cry of the first child, to the final whisper of the final human. Everything. Let that sink in for a moment. Before there was light, before there was a single atom, the entire story of the universe was already written. And here's the question that burns in my mind, and maybe in yours. If everything was written before it happened, does that mean nothing can change? Does it mean every decision you and I will ever make is already known? If so, then what does that say about free will? Some would say, the writing of the pen is not a trap, but a testament. It doesn't force our choices. It simply records the choices the Creator already knows we will make. Think about it like this. If you know the ending of a story because you've read the whole book, does that mean the characters in the book had no choices? Or does it mean you simply know what choices they'll make because you've seen them all? This is where the mystery deepens. The pen did not decide what would happen. It simply ensured that nothing would be lost. Every moment would be preserved in the eternal record. But still, why would a Creator start with this? Why not begin with light or power or beauty? Why start with something so quiet, so hidden, so unreachable to us? Maybe because the pen represents knowledge, and maybe it's a message to us that in our own lives, wisdom should come before action, that the unseen plan matters more than the visible construction. Here's something else to consider. If the pen truly was first, then it was created in a reality with no time, which means it recorded the past, present, and future all at once. We think of events as unfolding in a line, yesterday, today, tomorrow. But to the first creation, it may have been a single eternal page. The rise and fall of empires, the laughter of children, the rage of storms, all written in the same timeless moment. And that raises another unsettling question. If all of it, the victories, the disasters, the moments of joy and the moments of tragedy, were already recorded before light existed, then what role do we really play? Are we free explorers in an open world, or are we walking along a path already drawn, step by step, before the first sunrise? But even more mysterious is this: the pen did not remain alone for long. In that same realm of darkness before light, another creation appeared, vast beyond comprehension, not an instrument, but a symbol, not of knowledge, but of authority. And it would not float in emptiness. It would rest above something ancient and strange, an endless, boundless ocean. And this takes us to the next step in the story. Because before light, before even the first angel, there was the throne and the waters below it. But what were these waters? And why would the Creator choose to place the throne above them? That's where we're heading next. The throne over the waters. Close your eyes for a moment and try to erase every image you've ever had of the world. No continents, no skies, no sun, no light. Just a darkness so complete it feels alive, like a presence pressing in from every side. And somewhere in that infinite darkness, the first creation, the pen, is already at work. Its task is silent but unstoppable, writing the very fabric of destiny. But the pen was not meant to be the only thing in existence. From the same act of will that brought it forth, another creation appeared. This one was unlike anything before, and unlike anything that would come after. It is called the throne. Now, forget whatever image comes to mind when you hear the word throne. This is not a carved seat of gold in a king's palace. It is not even an object that could fit inside our universe as we know it. The throne is vast beyond comprehension. It is the supreme seat of authority, the center from which every command of creation will be issued, not in a palace, but above something far more mysterious. Beneath it stretched an ocean, but not the blue waters we know. These were primordial waters, ancient, boundless, untouched. They did not shimmer because there was no light to make them shine. They did not move with tides because there was no moon to pull at them. They were simply there, infinite and silent. And here's the question that should strike us. Why? Why would the Creator choose to set the throne above water before anything else? Why not place it in light or in the heavens? Why an ocean? Some ancient teachers have said the waters were the first material of creation, a kind of raw potential from which all other matter would be shaped. Every star, every mountain, every living creature, all of it could trace its material origin back to those waters. If that's true, then the image is breathtaking. The throne above the waters is the symbol of absolute control over everything that will ever be made. Before creation takes form, authority is already in place. Picture it in your mind, a darkness stretching forever in every direction, an endless ocean beneath it, perfectly still, perfectly silent. And above it, the throne. Unshakable, unmoved. The first seat of power, established before the first flicker of light. Even now, as you picture it, you might feel your mind trying to reach for something it can't quite touch, because this is not the kind of scene you can map, measure, or fully explain. It's the kind of truth you can only stand in awe of. And yet, there's another layer to this mystery. If the waters were the first matter, what existed below them? Could there be something deeper still, something even the waters rested upon? Some traditions speak of the waters as being beneath the heavens, but above the earth. But in this moment, there was no earth, no sky, which means these waters were not inside our familiar universe at all. They were part of a primordial realm, the stage upon which the first acts of creation would unfold. And then there's this. If the throne was above the waters, what does above even mean when there is no up or down? No gravity, no space, no physical laws. The above here isn't about direction, it's about rank. It's about the fact that before anything else had power, the Creator's authority was already supreme. Now think about the order so far. The pen, recording all that will be. The throne, the seat of ultimate authority. The waters, the raw potential for everything that will ever exist. Knowledge, authority, potential. It's almost like the opening steps of a master architect. First, the plan is drawn. Then, the authority to build is established. And finally, the raw material is gathered. Only after that will the work begin. And that raises the next question. If the pen had written the story, and the throne had been set, and the waters were waiting, what was the next step? It wasn't light. Not yet. Because before light could shine, something else had to be prepared. Some ancient accounts describe what happened next as an act so powerful it still shakes the universe today. From the silent darkness, a command went forth, and the realm of creation began to change. A force, a brightness, an energy unlike anything that had ever been, was about to burst into being. But this light wasn't like the sunlight you and I know. It was not tied to a burning star. It was something far purer, far more ancient. It was primordial light, the foundation for every physical thing that would ever exist. And here's the thought that should keep you leaning forward. If light wasn't the first creation, but came after the pen and the throne, does that mean the very laws of nature themselves are not the highest reality? Could it be that light, matter, even time, all of them are servants to something greater that was in place before they began? Because if that's true, then the moment light appeared, it was stepping into a universe where the script was already written and the king was already seated. In the next part of our journey, we'll step right into that moment, the instant before light existed, and the unfathomable force that brought it into being. But here's the question you need to keep in your mind until then. If light itself had a beginning, what will happen when it has an end? The moment before light, imagine standing at the edge of existence. Behind you, nothing, no stars, no galaxies, no time to measure your waiting. Ahead of you, the empty, dark expanse where reality is about to be born. And here, suspended in this unending stillness, three things already exist. The pen, writing the complete history of everything to come. The throne, the unshakable seat of ultimate authority. The waters, infinite, untouched, holding the raw potential for all creation. This is the stage before the curtain rises. But here's what's almost impossible for us to imagine. Even in this perfect preparation, there is still no light, no glimmer, no shape, no way to see where one thing ends and another begins. And yet, this was not chaos. It was order waiting to be revealed. Now ask yourself, why delay the creation of light? Why keep the universe shrouded in darkness when the power to illuminate it has always been there? The answer might be more profound than we think. Darkness is not the enemy in this moment. It is the canvas. And before the brush can touch it, before the first stroke of illumination, the design must be perfect. Then, the moment comes. Not the passage of a second, because seconds do not yet exist, but the instant of decision. The Creator speaks. And what happens next is so sudden, so complete, that if you were there to witness it, your mind could not take in the sight. Light explodes into existence. But this is not the soft glow of dawn you've seen 1,000 times. This is primordial light, raw, unfiltered, untamed. It does not come from a sun, because there is no sun. It does not reflect off a moon, because there is no moon. It does not travel from a star, because no stars yet burn. This light is pure energy, the first physical expression of the Creator's will, the building block from which the rest of the universe will be shaped. Think about it. Every atom in your body, every drop of water in the oceans, every mountain and star and breath of air, all of it came from the energy released in this moment. But even more staggering, this light is younger than the pen. It is younger than the throne. It is younger than the waters. Which means, and let this sink in, The very fabric of the physical world you live in is not the oldest thing in existence. The laws of physics, gravity, the speed of light, all of them came after knowledge, after authority, after potential. Now here's the question that should send a chill down your spine. If light itself is not eternal, what happens when it reaches its end? Because everything in the physical world decays. Stars burn out. Galaxies drift apart. Even light, given enough time, will fade into cold emptiness. But the first creation, the pen that wrote all things, the throne that governs all things, they existed before light, and they will exist after it is gone. This flips the way we see the world. We think of light as the beginning of life, and for us, it is. But for creation itself, light is a middle chapter, not the first page, which means the universe is built on realities we can't see. Realities that don't depend on sunlight or matter at all. And here's where the story becomes even more mysterious. From this primordial light, other creations are formed. Beings made entirely of light, radiant, flawless in their obedience to the Creator's will. They will be the messengers, the protectors, the ones who carry out the commands written before time began. And alongside them, another creation emerges, not from light, but from fire without smoke. Beings of energy and will, unseen to human eyes, with the power to choose obedience or defiance. These are not the first creations, but they are the first to fill the universe with purpose beyond the stillness. And yet, even they come after the pen, the throne, and the waters. Their story, their very existence, had already been recorded before the first flicker of light. Now think of the order again. The pen, the record, the throne, the authority, the waters, the potential, the light, the substance, the beings, the first to move through creation. It's a sequence that tells us something important about the Creator's nature. Wisdom first, authority second, resources third, execution only when the foundation is perfect. And it should make us ask, if this is the order the Creator chose for the universe, what does it say about the order we should follow in our own lives? How often do we rush to act before we plan? How often do we try to build without first securing the foundation? If even light itself waited for the right moment, what might we be missing if we don't learn to wait for the right moment too? But here's a question that's even harder to face. If the Creator made light knowing it would one day fade, why make it at all? Why not create something eternal right from the start? Could it be that the very fading of light is part of the plan? Because if there is a beginning and there will be an end, then there must also be a reason for what comes after. And that takes us to the next part of this journey. Because before humans walked the earth, before the first mountains rose from the seas, something extraordinary was already in motion. The beings of light and fire had been made. The stage was set for the arrival of a creation unlike anything before. But why would the Creator, after such perfect preparation, bring forth beings capable of disobedience, failure, even destruction? That's the mystery we face next. The purpose of the first creation. We've seen the order so far. The pen, the throne, the waters, the light, the first beings. It's not random. It's deliberate. A sequence so intentional that it tells a story even before we reach humanity. And at the center of this sequence is the first creation, the one that came before everything else, the pen. Now let's ask the question that should have been burning in our minds since the start. Why? Why begin with something that writes instead of something that builds? Why start with a record instead of the creation itself? Some ancient teachers have suggested that the act of writing, of fixing something into record, is not about changing the future, but about anchoring it. Imagine a master sculptor about to create the most intricate statue in history. Before they touch the stone, they see every detail of the finished work in their mind. Every curve, every line, every shadow that will fall across its surface. In their mind, the statue already exists. But they don't begin by striking the stone. They begin by committing that vision to a plan, something that will guide every cut, every decision, until the work is complete. That's what the pen represents. It is the eternal blueprint of reality. And here's the astonishing part. If the pen recorded Eve, right moment before creation began, then nothing has ever surprised the Creator. Not the rise of empires, not the collapse of civilizations, not the choices you or I have made, or will make. Everything is known. Not because we are forced to act a certain way, but because the author knows how his characters will choose in every chapter. But this leads us to a tension we can't ignore. If everything is already written, do our choices even matter? It's a question that has haunted thinkers for centuries. The answer? They matter precisely because they are ours. The pen did not write a list of commands for us to follow. It wrote the history of our choices, the ones we would freely make. It's like reading a book you've read before. You know exactly what the characters will do, but they still make those choices in the story. Their actions are real, their consequences are real, and yet, to the reader, nothing is uncertain. That's the perspective of the first creation. It did not change the path of history. It simply ensured that the path was never lost. Now, why would the Creator want the first thing in existence to be a witness to everything? Because the pen is not just a record, it is a testimony. At the end of all things, when light fades and the last chapter is written, nothing will be forgotten. Every act of kindness, every act of cruelty, every choice we thought no one saw, it will all still exist in that first creation's record. And here's a thought that can either comfort us or terrify us. The pen has no bias. It does not record from one perspective or another. It writes the truth as it is. There's no erasing its pages, no rewriting the past, no editing the story to make ourselves look better. The first creation is incorruptible because it answers only to the one who made it. This is why knowledge comes before power. Before the Creator set the universe into motion, he made certain that nothing would be hidden. No act of creation, no act of rebellion, no act of love or hatred would pass without being preserved. And that's why, even though the throne, the waters, and the light are all breathtaking in their own right, it is the pen that holds the deepest mystery. Because if everything is known, if the entire story of creation has been recorded since before time began, then the most important question we can ask is not what will happen, but why it will happen. But there's something else to consider here. The pen came before light and before time, which means it also came before endings. When you and I think about history, we see it as a timeline, a straight line from start to finish. But to the first creation, history may be more like a completed tapestry. Every thread already in place, every color chosen, the entire pattern visible at once. And if that's the case, then what we see as the future is already woven into the past. This should change how we see ourselves. We are not drifting in chaos. We are part of a story that was known before the first particle of light existed. And if that's true, then nothing, not even the darkest moment of our lives, is without purpose. But here's the catch. If the pen is a witness to all things, then so are we in a way, because our choices are the ink. Every action we take, every word we speak is a stroke in the design. And one day, the one who authored it all will read it back to us, not as strangers, but as participants in the very story he began before light. Which leads to the next part of our journey. Because before humanity ever appeared in this story, another creation was already in place, beings of light who could only obey. beings of fire who could choose, and their choices would shape the world long before we walked upon it. But why would the Creator, after such careful preparation, bring forth a creature capable of defiance? Why plant the seed of conflict in a universe so perfectly ordered? And what does that? This pride would set into motion a chain of events that would echo through all of history, even to our own time. But in those first moments after their creation, before any rebellion had begun, these beings of fire were simply another step toward what was coming next, the creation of a world unlike any other. Picture it now. The pen has recorded every event to come. The throne has been set above the waters. The primordial light fills the void. Beings of light and beings of fire move through creation, carrying out their roles. And still, there are no stars. The heavens are empty of their lights. The great cosmic structures are not yet formed. The universe is not yet the place we would recognize. Because the next stage of creation will be the beginning of the physical universe we know. This is when the stars begin to burn. The primordial light is given form in the first suns. The darkness between them is shaped by gravity, drawing together matter to form planets, moons, and worlds. It is a kind of beauty that can only come from power, and yet, every particle in those stars and planets is younger than the pen, the throne, and the waters. All of it is younger than the record that already knows how they will live and how they will die. And here's something that should stop us in our tracks. If the Creator made stars knowing they would one day burn out, if He made worlds knowing some would be barren, lifeless, why? Why create things that would not last? Perhaps the answer is that their purpose is not in their endurance, but in their role in the story. A star's life is not wasted just because it ends. Its purpose may be to shine for a time, to warm a world, to make possible the conditions for life. And once its task is done, it fades, but the story continues. In this way, even the greatest of creations can be temporary. And if that is true of the stars, what does it mean for us? It means our worth is not measured in how long we last, but in the role we play in the plan that began before light. But here's where the story becomes personal. Because the creation of the physical universe was not an end in itself. It was the stage being prepared for something far smaller than the stars, yet far more significant. The next creation would be a creature of earth and spirit, with the ability to know both obedience and rebellion. A creature capable of love, but also of betrayal. A creature who could shape the world or destroy it. And that creature would be us. But we would not enter an empty world. When humanity arrived, the beings of light would already be watching. The beings of fire would already be moving in the shadows. The stars would already be burning overhead. And the pen would already have written every step of our journey. Which means our story began long before our first breath. But why? Why would the Creator make a being like us, knowing every failure we would commit, every act of cruelty, every moment we would turn away from Him? Why would He give us the freedom to walk away from the light, when He could have made us like the beings of light, incapable of disobedience? And what does that tell us about what He values most in His creation? That is the mystery we turn to next. Does the first creation still exist? We've followed the story from the first instant of creation, the pen, the throne, the waters, the light, the first beings, the stars, and finally, humanity. But this raises a question that has been quietly following us since the beginning. Where is the first creation now? If the pen was the first thing the Creator made, did it disappear after its task was done? Did it dissolve into the nothingness from which it came? Or is it still here, somewhere beyond the veil of the physical universe, knowing to record every passing moment? Imagine it for a second. Right now, as you hear my voice, as you breathe in and out, as you glance around the room, there is something in existence that is writing this very moment into the eternal record. It writes without pause. It writes without error. It writes without forgetting. It does not tire. It does not sleep. It does not overlook even the smallest act. From the fall of empires to the turning of a leaf in the wind, all of it is written. And if this is true, then the pen is not just a relic of the beginning. It is a living witness to everything that has ever happened, is happening now, and will happen until the end of creation. That means the same pen that recorded the first breath of the first human also recorded the words you spoke today, the thoughts you kept hidden, the choices you made when no one was looking. Now here's where this thought becomes deeply personal and deeply uncomfortable. What if there are no private moments? What if the smallest act of kindness and the smallest act of cruelty are given equal permanence in the record? When we think no one sees, no one hears, the first creation does. It doesn't judge. It doesn't accuse. It simply writes. But one day, its record will be read back. And that brings us to the throne, the second creation. The throne is not just a symbol of authority at the beginning. It is the place from which judgment will be issued at the end. When that time comes, the record of the pen will not be hidden away. It will be presented before the one who commissioned it in the first place. And in that moment, no one will be able to say, "That didn't happen," or "I was misunderstood," because the record will be exact. It will not be based on memory or rumor or perception. It will be the truth. But if the pen is still writing, that means history is not yet finished. The story is still unfolding. Your story, my story, our story as humanity. And that means every choice we make is still being added to the same record that it began before light existed. Now think about this. When light fades from the universe, when the stars burn out and the last traces of physical matter dissolve, the pen will still exist. It will not be dependent on the laws of physics. It existed before those laws, and it will remain after they are gone. Which means that in a very real sense, what we do now matters far beyond the lifespan of the universe. Long after the galaxies themselves are gone, the record will remain. That leads to a question that should stop us cold. If you knew that every moment of your life was being preserved forever, how would you live differently? Would you speak differently to the people around you? Would you choose differently in moments of temptation? Would you spend your time in the same way? Because here's the truth. According to the story of creation, that is not just a thought experiment, it is reality. But the pen's existence raises another question. If it's still here, where is it? Is it in a realm beyond human sight? The same realm where the throne stands above the primordial waters? Is it somewhere in the highest reaches of creation, far above the physical universe? Or is it closer than we think? Not in distance, but in presence. A reality that intersects with every moment we live. We can't know for certain, but we can know this. The first creation is not gone. It is still fulfilling the task it was given in the beginning. And that realization should lead us to the climax of the story. Because if the first creation has never stopped recording, if the throne still stands above all creation, if the waters, the light, the beings, the stars, and humanity are all still unfolding according to the plan written at the beginning, then the question is no longer just about what happened before light existed. The real question is this: what will happen after it is gone? It takes us into the final section. Because in the end, the story of the first creation is not just about the past, it is about what is coming, and the end may look more like the beginning than we realize. The mystery of the beginning. We started at the edge of time. We've followed the first creation through the darkness before light. We've watched the throne rise above the waters. We've seen the burst of primordial light, the creation of the first beings, the birth of the stars, and the arrival of humanity. And now we stand at the other end of the story, or at least the part of it we've been allowed to see. Here's the question that's been waiting for us since the beginning. If the universe had a starting point, what will its ending look like? And more than that, what role will the first creation play in that ending? The record of the pen is not just an archive of the past. It is also the record of the future, already written, already known. When the final day arrives, the record will be complete. No more moments to add, no more choices to make. And on that day, the record will be opened. Imagine it. The throne, the same throne that stood above the waters before light existed, now the center of the final gathering. Every being that has ever lived is present. The beings of light, the beings of fire, and all of humanity, from the first to the last. The pen is there too, not holding ink and parchment, but holding something far greater, the truth. Page after page, if they can even be called pages, unfolding the story of every life, the story of every thought, every word, every act, not edited, not reimagined, not told from one perspective or another, but as it actually happened. And here's where the beginning and the end meet. The first creation was made before light, and it will still be here after light is gone. When the stars fade, the record will remain. When the galaxies dissolve into nothing, the record will remain. When the physical universe itself returns to the silence from which it came, the record will remain. And maybe that's the point. We think of beginnings and endings as separate, but in the Creator's view, they are two sides of the same truth. The plan that was written before time began will be the same plan that is fulfilled at the end. This is where we must ask ourselves, if the pen could speak, if the first creation itself could tell us what it has written about our lives so far, what would it say? Would it speak of moments we would be proud of, or moments we wish we could erase? Would it tell of times we chose the light, or the times we chose the shadows? And perhaps the more uncomfortable question is this. If you knew that tomorrow's choices were being written right now into a record that will never be erased, what would you choose differently tomorrow? The first creation's existence is both a comfort and a warning. It is a comfort because it means nothing is meaningless. Every moment is part of the design. It is a warning because it means nothing is forgotten. Every moment matters. So here we are, standing at the edge of two great mysteries. One stretches backward to the darkness before light. The other stretches forward to the moment after light is gone. Between them is our story. A story being written even now by the same pen that began before time itself. And maybe, just maybe, that's why we are drawn to stories like this. Because somewhere deep in us, we know that our lives are not accidents. We are part of something that began long before we were born and will continue long after we are gone. We are not just living inside a universe. We are living inside a story, one that has been recorded since the first moment of creation. So now, I'll leave you with one final question. If the first creation has been writing your story since before there was light, what do you want the last chapter to say? If you've enjoyed this journey into the moment before light existed, make sure to give this video a like. It really helps more people discover these stories. And if you're new here, subscribe to Bible Unseen and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next hidden chapter of history and scripture. Now I want to hear from you. We've talked about the first creation, the pen that wrote all things before time began. But if you could read even one page of that eternal record, which moment in all of history would you want to see? Tell me in the comments. I'm going to read through them, and I can't wait to see the moments you choose.